Hey my friends, how are you? Welcome to another complete video this Saturday morning, where we finally had the Las Vegas GP, a race that could decide the champion of this 2024 Formula One season. So, before I tell you everything that happened on the track, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications, since that's the only way you'll never miss a single detail about the world of Formula One. And if you like videos full of information like this one, leave a like to support our work. Well, without further ado, let's go to the track, where after 3 free practice sessions and a qualifying session, all of these sessions dominated by Mercedes, we arrived at the Las Vegas GP, which had several points to keep an eye on, such as the Mercedes cars, which apparently didn't have such a strong pace for the race, as well as the Red Bull cars, which made some changes to their cars for this weekend. And these changes ended up going wrong, with performance dropping significantly and the drivers, especially Verstappen, having to scramble to get a good result. And finally, the main point to keep an eye on was the fight between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris for the world title. Since if Verstappen beat Norris in this race, he would be crowned champion of the 2024 season. Tell me, before the race, were you confident that Verstappen would win? Or were you hoping that it would go to the final 2 races? So, shortly after 3 a.m., the cars started, including Franco Colapinto, who had crashed his car badly in qualifying, managing to start but starting from the pits. With the lights out, Russell got off to a great start and remained in first place, with Pierre Gasly, who started in third, losing his position to Carlos Sainz, with Norris and Verstappen staying in their positions and taking every precaution possible at the start to avoid accidents. In these first laps, the cars in front remained very close, with no one able to protect themselves from the DRS opening, with Verstappen already trying to gain the position from Pierre Gasly and Norris having some difficulty in staying close to Verstappen to the point of gaining that position in this part of the race. At the back, Sergio Perez lost the position, with him being one of the only ones to start the race on hard tires, while the majority opted for medium tires. Arriving at lap 4, Verstappen finally went after Gasly and managed to take 4th position, while up ahead Leclerc went after Russell and tried to gain that first place, with the two even touching, but Russell managing to defend his position. Even in the following laps, it seemed that the Mercedes car was still alive and the driver was already opening up a gap of almost 3 seconds over the Ferrari car before lap 8. On lap 8, Leclerc was slow on the track and ended up losing position to Sainz and also Verstappen, who took 3rd place, with his Red Bull performing very well at that moment, taking advantage of every opportunity to climb in search of better positions. A little behind, Norris finally managed to overtake Pierre Gasly and try to stay close to Verstappen, with Verstappen becoming champion at that moment. On lap 10, Verstappen went after Sainz and managed to gain 2nd place, being 8 seconds behind 1st place George Russell. At that moment, several cars had already started to make their pit stops to change tires, which is an important part of the race. On lap 16, Pierre Gasly complained about the lack of power in his car, with a lot of smoke suddenly coming out and it becoming clear that he had more serious problems, and the driver unfortunately retired from a weekend that had been very good up until now. Coming to lap 20, Russell was comfortably in the lead with a 10-second advantage over 2nd-placed Max Verstappen. Sainz was 3rd, Leclerc 4th, and Hamilton was 5th, having gained the position from Lando Norris, who was not performing well and seemed unable to prevent Verstappen from taking the title. 5 laps later, exactly halfway through the race, Norris was already 7 seconds behind Hamilton, with Verstappen comfortably in 2nd place. On lap 28, Verstappen went for his 2nd pit stop at the same time as Lewis Hamilton, with the Red Bull driver losing position to Norris at that moment, but returning with better tires and quickly closing in. But on lap 31, Norris was called into the pits for another tire change, while Hamilton was closing in on Verstappen and trying to gain that position from the Red Bull driver on the track. And on lap 32, Hamilton managed to overtake Verstappen without any difficulty, with the Mercedes driver having an excellent race and already taking 2nd place in the race, with Russell stopping on the following lap to avoid any risk, still returning to the track with more than 12 seconds of advantage over the 2nd-place driver. But Hamilton seemed to want to try to surprise in the final straight of the race, with the driver doing fastest lap after fastest lap and taking almost 1 second per lap from Russell, with on lap 37 he reaching around 7 seconds behind his teammate. On lap 38, Perez got involved in a battle for position with Liam Lawson and Nico Hülkenberg, where he precisely managed a double overtake that was the best of the race so far. Tell me, what did you think of this maneuver by the Mexican? On lap 42, Sainz went after Verstappen and took third place. And it was Leclerc's turn to go after the Red Bull driver, with Verstappen taking every care in the world not to get involved in an accident and not to fight too aggressively for positions. Meanwhile, up ahead, Hamilton was already 5 seconds behind Russell and continued his sequence of fast laps. On lap 47, Leclerc finally took the position from Verstappen, who again did not even try to defend himself to avoid putting himself at risk, with the Red Bull driver falling to 5th place, but still ahead of Norris, which was what he needed to do. And after a complicated season full of ups and downs, Max Verstappen, just 27 years old, did what he needed to do in this race and beat his rival Lando Norris in a dominant way, even with a car full of problems this weekend and in the last races, showing great skill to get the most out of each situation and thus winning his 4th world title in Las Vegas, to the delight of the Red Bull team.